This is Share the Vision, presented by the Resource Center, a discussion of the programs and services of the Resource Center and about issues related to individuals with disabilities. Today, your New Year's resolutions. A panel of guests will join us in a moment. I will introduce them all after I say Happy New Year to my friend and colleague on Share the Vision, Steve Watterson, Community Relations Director at the Resource Center. Happy New Year.
That was a nice touch there, Dennis. Happy New Year to you, too.
That was the champagne popping imitation.
That was great.
Well, Steve, we come back to reprise a great tradition on Share the Vision with the program that's about to happen here in terms of looking at a year ending and a new one beginning and people's aspirations for themselves and their lives. We are all thinking about that right now.
Right. This is a show we do most years, that first show in January, on giving people some advice and tips on, we'll call it New Year's resolutions, but it's really how they can go about affecting change in their lives at any time of the year. I know myself, when I do make resolutions, I tend not to follow them, and I fall off the wagon pretty quickly. And I think maybe it's because I set my sights too high. So we like to do the show after the first few days of January, so people who have already maybe not kept up to the resolutions they thought they could make and are kicking themselves, we are here to give them some inspiration, some encouragement, and tell them that it's not too late, and here's some things that they can do in order to start moving in the ways that they want.
I will make one resolution that I think I can keep for this program, and that is, at the end, we'll hear from one of the coordinators for Toys for Tots, a final report on how this year's drive went this year in Chautauqua County under the aegis of the Resource Center for the Marine Corps Reserve's Toys for Tots. That much I can resolve to do.
Sounds good. I know we have some exciting news in terms of a record number of children assisted this year through Toys for Tots.
Stay tuned for that. Let me clip this microphone back in its place and introduce to you Leanna Luca Conley, Director of Care Coordination and Behavioral Health at the Resource Center. Leanna, welcome and Happy New Year to you.
Yes, Happy New Year to you, Dennis, and Happy New Year to the community out there listening.
And thank you for inviting us to your location here, the Kappa Building, 880 East 2nd Street in Jamestown, to sit down with the distinguished panel of people. Leanna, give us an overview of your work and the people who are in the room here in terms of mental health or behavioral health help at the Resource Center.
Okay, well, who we have here in the room with us is we have Donald Poole, and he has actually expanded his role with our mental health program, so he's doing more of a business coordination role. We have Nicole Drosdale, who is a new mental health clinician with us, so we're thankful to have her on board, and she works right here out of our outpatient programs. And then we have Jeff Axelson, who is our PROS specialist and works real closely with our outpatient services in PROS area, assisting people with reaching their goals.
So we do have a distinguished panel of people here, and we're going to let them cut loose on our New Year's resolutions and helping us in just a moment. But first, talk to me about behavioral health services at the Resource Center. I understand that they're all centrally located at this place now?
Yes, we are also located out in Dunkirk. We have programs in our Gateway Center on 3rd Street, and we also have some programs that are running in our Lakeshore Avenue area in Dunkirk. But here at Kappa, it's really unique because we've become fully integrated with our programs, which means we have primary care, we have our dental, our mental health programs with our outpatient and our PROS program all under one roof.
So this is a place where people can come and improve their health in 2015 in a wide variety of ways.
Absolutely. We have our psychiatrist that works closely with our physicians next door, with the doctors. You know, we have care coordinators in the building at all times, which help individuals out in the community navigate through different services. It's a great place. I don't know if anybody's driven by, but there's a lot of plastic on the walls because we're changing the whole image of the building. But we are here to stay, and it's going to be a great new year with a great look on the outside of the building.
Well, and maybe it's important to say for people who do drive by this location all the time that business is up and running, and after the holidays are all over, you'll be back to business as usual here despite the ongoing construction.
Absolutely. We're very busy. We've actually been expanding our programs. We have programs for dual diagnosed individuals, which means we do handle individuals that may be suffering from substance abuse, which has been a hot topic here in Chautauqua County recently. We do have a Suboxone clinic that we work closely with, having groups and clinicians working side by side with individuals. And then we also have our PROS program located right here, which is Personalized Recovery-Oriented Services, which is very unique because it's individualized and meeting the individual's goals.
Well, thank you very much for the introduction, Leanna Luca Conley. I'm going to have you swing that microphone over a little bit now. And Nicole Drosdale, mental health clinician. Nicole, welcome to Share the Vision.
Thank you so much for having me here today.
We have 3 specialists in the room, but I thought ladies first, and I would let you go first. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your work here at the Resource Center.
Well, I'm a new addition to the Resource Center, and I'm very excited to be part of the programs that are growing and expanding. I work in the mental health outpatient clinic as a clinician, and so I see folks depending on the frequency they need, sometimes weekly, biweekly, maybe once a month for a check-in. But we get together, we talk, and we talk about changes maybe they want to make in their life or barriers to making those changes. So I'm very excited to be here. And with the new year, a lot of times folks bring up the topic, this is what I want to see happen in 2015, or this is what didn't go right for me in 2014. So it's really a nice opportunity to begin that dialogue.
One of the things that we're going to do when we get toward the conclusion of this program is go back to Leanna and have her give a contact number and some information. And it might be you, Nicole, that someone meets if they decide that they would like a little help with their New Year's resolutions here at TRC.
Well, we hope that they'll take the opportunity and call, because there's a lot of wonderful folks here that are willing and ready to help in any way they can.
Jeff Axelson sits immediately to my left here as we record at the Kappa Building, 880 East 2nd Street. As identified earlier, he's a PROS specialist at the Resource Center. Jeff, welcome to Share the Vision.
Thank you.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you.
Tell us a little bit about your work and expand a little more on Leanna talked some about what PROS means, but talk a little more about your work with the folks here.
PROS is a different focus than what they've had in the past, being that it is individualized and it's recovery-based rather than just stabilization. In the past, people, they took medications, they had some counseling, and were expected to go back and live relatively normal lives. Some individuals, that's not enough. They need more intensive recovery-based activities where they learn to function in the world on their own. That's really what's important. That's what recovery really is.
So people with serious challenges in their lives would come to you for a significant period of time to help them reestablish themselves, get their lives on the right footing.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, thank you very much. And one other person in the room with us is Don Poole. He's now coordinator of business operations in this part of the Resource Center. Is that the right way to describe it, Don?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your work here and your background.
Really, what I've been entrenched with a lot is the Health Homes Department here at the Resource Center. It's a brand new initiative through New York State. It's been up and running about a year in Western New York. And individuals with severe problems or any combination of problems can get help through health homes. They get a care coordinator that can go out in the community with them and help them navigate the systems, help them work with their primary care doctor, whether it's at TRC or someplace else. If they're homeless, help them find shelter. Any variety of problems that they need to overcome, that this care coordinator can help them with that. So we've grown. We started with Thad Lund, our clinical care coordinator, back in August of 2013, and now we're up to 10 care coordinators. So
wow.
It's just exploding because it's such a great program.
Well, with those introductions, let me now open it to any of you, all of you, in terms of people who are setting goals for themselves, trying to accomplish things in the year 2015 that is just unfolding now. What kind of recommendations would you make to them to help them be successful?
Well, I think that, as we all begin to strategize on different goals we want to have for the coming year, it's important to make sure that our goals are realistic. We would all like to be able to fly, but that doesn't mean we're going to in the next 6 to 8 months. So what we want to do is have goals that we can obtain, and along the same terms, making sure that we set little benchmarks along the way. So maybe your goal is to quit smoking or to lose weight. If you can break that down into a smaller goal, or maybe you cut back to a fewer cigarettes a day, or you start out with trying to lose those first 5 pounds, then you don't get so overwhelmed by the big goal, the end, that what you're aiming for in the long run.
Why do we have this all or nothing mentality? Because I think a lot of us, maybe most of us, all of us do say, well, I'm going to quit smoking, or I'm going to eat better, or I'm going to lose weight, and we expect to be able to make a 180-degree turn, or at least a 90-degree turn, almost immediately. What is it in us that impels us to do that? Do you have any idea?
I think Don. We all seek that immediate gratification, and we live in an age where we can get that a lot of times. You can go and watch the newest movie streaming online before it's even in the theaters today. You can go to Amazon and get whatever you ordered in 2 days, where you used to have to wait quite a while. So we're used to getting things right away, and we want things right away. We don't want to wait for them. And sometimes we forget the value, I think, of something that we've really waited and worked for. They come a little harder, but they're much more valuable once you really put that effort in.
You're saying, perhaps, Don Poole, that in terms of mental health or behavioral health or making these changes in our lives, that there's no instant gratification? We're going to have to dig into this for the long term? Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you may feel some immediate relief, whether it's behavioral health or your physical health. But we're really in this for the long run. We're not in it for tomorrow or for the next minute. We want to make a sustainable change that's going to last our lifetime.
Jeff, you were talking just a few minutes ago about the fact that you work long-term with people with significant challenges in their lives. I would bet you would concur with the general sense of the conversation here.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny, we're talking about New Year's resolutions, and for just everyone has difficulty keeping those. For those with mental health challenges, this can be devastating when they don't stick to a goal or a plan. That's why it's important, like Nicole was saying, that you break it down into bite-sized chunks, if you will, where they can, like Don was saying, get a little bit of that relief or instant gratification, which is the motivating factor to keep them going, keep them moving forward. Obviously, we have to break it down into little chunks, and we have to encourage them to keep moving forward, but they have to be able to plan for the future or see the big picture. We just help them break it down into milestones, into pieces that they can achieve.
One of the other things and this is a personal question on my behalf, is when I set these goals for myself, big or small, realistic or unrealistic, do I tell or not tell? Are these things that I should keep close to me, or should I put on the radio?
Well, that's an age-old question, isn't it?
Well, I'm looking for the brand new answer for 2015. Jeff, what can you tell me?
Well, if you put it out there, obviously you're going to have people that are supporting you. If you keep it quiet, then it's your secret.
But if I put it out there and I fail, haven't I made it worse for myself?
Depends on how you look at it.
Well, I guess I'm not so concerned about how I look at it as how they might look at it.
People that have achieved the greatest things in life have failed many, many, many times. Look at Babe Ruth. Everybody talks about his home runs, but no one talks about how many times he struck out.
So then I shouldn't be concerned about if I set myself up to lose 10 pounds and tell my wife and children and then I don't. I shouldn't be concerned about what the feedback...
Well, look at the bigger picture. Did you lose 5? Well, you're halfway to your goal. You didn't fail.
Nicole?
There is a benefit to sharing those goals, because then you have a supportive network of people around you that are going to encourage you, that are going to celebrate with you when you make the smaller milestones, like the 5 pounds. So although I think a lot of times we're hesitant to share what our goals are out of pride because we're embarrassed or we don't want to recognize that maybe we can fail. But if we are able to put our pride aside and really be vulnerable enough to share with other people, that's why we have support groups, so that we can share with others where our limitations are and encourage each other to kind of reach harder and farther than we have in the past.
Suppose I articulate those goals and those closest to me say, you'll never do that.
Well, and I guess that goes back to what Nicole originally said about making it realistic. And maybe they're right. And maybe you need to rethink that goal or make some smaller steps where you can actually get some achievement, maybe a little bit of instant gratification, and then move towards that bigger goal. If I said today that I want to save $1 million, I'm sure everybody would laugh at me. But if I say I want to save $10, that's more reasonable and easier to do. And if I keep doing that, who knows? Maybe I will save that big money.
Are there any other perspectives that the three of you have drawn from your clinical experience or helping people that would be important at this juncture, considering what you've said to us so far in terms of breaking these sometimes big things down into smaller ones and establishing those little mileposts or small successes, build them into our plan, and be vocal about this, don't be afraid to share them. What else from your collective wisdom can you add to this?
Well, I think there's a benefit in setting goals that are measurable, because oftentimes when we talk with our clients, we say, what does better mental health look like to you? Or how will you know when you've reached this goal that you have? And we make them look at it and say, if I'm able to go so many days without having a drink, if I'm able to go so long without having this particular experience, if I'm able to sit down at a family conversation and not lose control of my emotions. Those are all little goals, but unless you plan ahead and kind of have an idea of what success looks like, you might miss all the gains you're actually making along the way.
That's an interesting concept. You say it again. What does success look like? How do you phrase it to the people you work with?
Make goals that are measurable. How will you know when you have accomplished what you've set out to do? It might be something like 5 pounds. It might be 5 cigarettes. It might be 5 days longer that you go without doing something that maybe you have been doing. But you have to make goals that are measurable, and you have to kind of see yourself accomplishing those goals. You know, like I can visualize myself sitting down and interacting with this family member and not having conflict. That's a big goal for a lot of people, learning how to get along better with others. But you've got to be planning ahead and setting clear goals and being able to measure them.
A visualization component. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what's the?
This is Jeff speaking of. Okay.
I think what's important is that we try to put what recovery means to the person or what their goal is in their own words. Mm-hmm. They identify what it will look like, and then we help them get there. We help them navigate their way through the world, so it will look the way the bigger picture looks to them. And I think that that's really. Society in general, we like this instant gratification. We live in a society where you want to lose weight, you take a pill. You can't sleep, you take a pill. On and on and on and on and on. And while medications are important and can help, it's really achieving goals and making the changes in your life that are going to be long-lasting. That's where people really experience the recovery.
Don, anything else you want to add at this point?
Well, we've talked about breaking that into small chunks. I think that's really important. The one thing that we kind of forget is once you've achieved that small chunk, that little goal, celebrate a little bit. Mm-hmm. Even if it's just stopping and congratulating yourself and say, hey, I've done a really good job. I can do this, my long-term goal, because I've done this part and this part and this part. It may just be stopping and saying congratulations to yourself. It may be taking the family out to dinner to celebrate. Whatever you think is appropriate for achieving that little chunk of that goal. If it's quitting smoking, go out to dinner to celebrate after a month. Mark that milestone.
The time is getting away from us so quickly, and I do want to ask one other important question at this juncture in the program. What if you fall off the wagon? What if you do something that is clearly contradictory to your goal? What is the recovery strategy so that we don't lose all of our New Year's resolutions if somebody does sneak a cigarette or a drink somewhere or eat both of the, well, I don't want to give the name of any candies or any of this high-calorie treats on this program, but somebody goes to the store and eats the whole box.
Mm-hmm. You're talking about a slip.
Yeah.
You identify where you made your mistake, and you correct it. You go on.
Identify where you made your mistake.
Uh-huh.
In your thinking, then, or where you let go?
It could be in your thinking. It could be in your actions.
I think, too, when you have goals, if you write them down, a lot of times when you talk to people who are losing weight, they food journal. And if you can recognize where you were emotionally when you had that slip, like, was I in a difficult situation? Was I dealing with a difficult person? Recognize where those slips are happening. That way you can be more proactive going forward, I tend to not exercise on Saturday morning, so I need to work harder to meet that goal. If you're keeping track and watching where those slips are happening, then you're going to be more proactive to address them in the future.
These minutes together have really flown by. Final thoughts from any of you before we go back to Leanna and then to Toys for Tots?
Well, I think you talked about slips. I think one important thing that we should mention is that you need to forgive yourself and move on from there. You know, studies show that people that are quitting smoking try at least 5 times and fail before they actually succeed. So if you've tried the first time, the second time, the third time, and you had that cigarette, understand that that's kind of normal. You're going to make that slip up, and don't beat yourself up and just give up on it. Just move forward. Figure out, like Jeff and Nicole said, what that trigger was that set you off, and then move forward.
Don Poole's the coordinator of business operations, this part of the Resource Center. Jeff Axelson is a PROS specialist. Nicole Drosdale, a mental health clinician. Thank you all very much for your time, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. Thank you. Happy New Year.
I'm going to have you switch that microphone back over now to Leanna Luca Conley, who, as was introduced at the beginning of the program, is the Director of Care Coordination and Behavioral Health here at the Resource Center. What did you learn over the last few minutes, Leanna?
Well, I learned a lot to help me make my New Year's resolution stick. Would like to spend more time with family and trying to set some achievable goals because I tend to be a workaholic. But as you can see, I have a great team here.
Incredible resources.
This is only a few of the individuals that are on our team, but we're very passionate and devoted to this community and want to help people out there achieve their goals.
Leanna, contact information. If someone wants to come and talk to one of the 3 people in the room here or other qualified specialists at the Resource Center to help them with their life goals, their New Year's resolutions, what should they do?
Well, definitely we have counseling and psychiatric services, outpatient phone number on hand, and this would be Jamestown, but even if you're located in Dunkirk, we can definitely try to link you at that end of the county. And our phone number here is 661-1590. And I also have a PROS program, which is a very unique program, especially if you're looking for that individualized treatment, attending some groups, working with some very cool people. But I have also the Jamestown number, and there again, we can also connect you up to our Dunkirk clinic, but that phone number is 661-1510.
I just want to go back for 1 minute to something you said earlier in the program, because you mentioned that the Resource Center is right on the cutting edge of helping people deal with a desperate problem, desperate issues of addiction in the community right now. And you have brought together resources for individuals, families who are trying to deal with that in themselves or help someone in their family deal with what has become a tragedy, an epidemic in our community. And I just want to have you focus on that for a moment, because this is really good news.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We here at the Resource Center, I feel that we're doing a very unique thing in the community. We have a psychiatrist who is very devoted. In fact, she just signed a 5-year contract with the Resource Center, very passionate about staying with us, loves the patients that she works with, but it's Dr. McMahon. She treats individuals that may be on Suboxone or are suffering with other disorders, but we have a Suboxone clinic that is connected with our outpatient clinic as well as PROS. We have very structured groups. We provide care coordination, peer support, have clinicians that are specialized with dual diagnosis. So we are here to stay and grow and enhance our programs.
Leanna Luca Conley, thank you for that summary and for this good news as a new year begins. We appreciate the opportunity to visit you here at your growing and changing location at the Kappa Building on 880 East 2nd Street.
Thank you.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
I'm going to pull this microphone from its clip one more time, have Steve Watterson come over here for a moment. Steve, we have just a couple of minutes here to sort of summarize what you heard in the room here over the last 25 minutes and get ready for our report on Toys for Tots.
Oh, it was great. I'm glad that everybody was able to take part in our discussion today. And I just want to reiterate for people, I know there's a lot of perception, I think, that still exists in the community that the Resource Center's programs are only for people with what used to be called mental retardation, but is now more appropriately known as intellectual or developmental disabilities. And really, we do have some programs, our day programs and our residential programs that are for folks with solely for folks with intellectual disabilities, but most of our other services are for anybody in the community. My primary care physician is one of our physicians here at the primary care clinic, so just want to reiterate that anyone in the community is able to come and use our behavioral health services, our dental services, primary care, our occupational therapy, physical therapy, all those other health-related services.
Let me give these numbers again, 661-1590 to connect with the behavioral health people here at the Resource Center. Specifically for the PROS program, it is 661-1510. Steve, I think we should carve out these next few minutes to find out how Toys for Tots ended up for this year.
Sounds great.
In the studio now, Terry Johnson, who's a coordinator for Toys for Tots for the Resource Center and has made frequent appearances on Share the Vision throughout the pre-holiday and holiday season, is back with us one more time. Terry, hello.
Hello, Dennis.
Thank you for taking the time once again this year to report to us on how Toys for Tots went in Chautauqua County at the Resource Center. How did it go?
It went very well. We finished out our year with record numbers, as we had kind of predicted. We served 2,401 children in Chautauqua County this year, which is 976 families. So that is the most that we have served to date. We did get a little concerned towards the end. We had to go out and do some last-minute shopping. So a special thank you to anybody who made monetary donations. That really helped us pull through to the end. We had some gaps in certain age ranges that we needed to go supply toys for. So we would not have been able to do it without the financial support from community members.
2,401. How many more children is that than last year or your previous record?
It's about 100 more than last year. We've had a pretty steady increase. The last couple of years, we've been right in the 2,300 mark. And so this was our first year that we broke 2,400. So the need is still definitely out there.
Terry, we have a moment here for last final thank yous to anybody in the community. You've already said thank you to those people who made cash contributions so you could have that money to fill those last-minute needs. Who else would you like to say thank you to for helping to make this year's Toys for Tots program once again a success?
Oh, we had so many people that really stepped up this year. Not only did we have our, over 80 barrel sites that year after year continue to support us and take collection sites at their businesses, we have a lot of businesses that have done challenges with their Christmas parties. We had this year Schultz Ford filled a truck. We had Z-Bart that really stepped up and did a Fill the Deuce campaign for us. We had a hair salon that did a competition, a couple hair salons that did a competition amongst themselves. Root Salon was the winner of that by bringing in the most amount of toys from the ones that were competing. So we wanted to give a special shout out to those girls at Root Salon in Falconer.
And, of course, thank you to you and to Heather Brown, the coordinators of Toys for Tots. New Toy Central this year, so thank you to Amy Roller also.
Absolutely. It was a great partnership to work with them down there at the Gateway Center, and they were so hospitable to us and welcoming of our kind of taking over for the week that we do, and they were really, really gracious hosts to us this year. So it was really nice to be downtown where people could park and get in and out pretty easily, so it was nice. And that's our Toys for Tots report for this year.
You're right. That was an exceptional year for Toys for Tots, Steve Watterson, as we come back here to the Kappa building to wrap up our first program of the year 2015. Is there any other Resource Center news you want to share with us as the year begins?
Oh, there's probably something, but I can't think of it right now. So,
well, thank you for a great set of broadcasts. I look forward every couple weeks to what we're going to do on Share the Vision, bringing new aspects of the Resource Center to the awareness of the community, and certainly has been a great blessing to me again through 2014, so I look forward to more great shows this year.
Thanks, Des. Yeah, we've been doing this for, it's probably close to 19 years now, so enjoy working with you as always, and looking forward to more great programs in 2015.
So, for Steve Watterson, Leanna Luca Conley, Nicole Drosdale, Jeff Axelson, and Don Poole, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And thank you for sharing the vision today.